Below is part one of the transformed narrative. A cold, relentless rain had soaked the midnight air when the silence of Riverhaven Park was shattered by a grim discovery. The lifeless body of a young woman, known in whispered circles as Sierra Jackson, was found sprawled beneath the gnarled boughs of century-old oaks. It was as if nature herself had wept in sympathy for a soul stolen too soon. The streetlights struggled to cast their pallid glow across a scene that trembled with unanswered questions. And investigators soon learned that Sierra's death was not the result of a simple misfortune. With every droplet that ran down her pallid face, a story of betrayal and calculated cruelty began to emerge. A story that would send shockwaves through even the hardiest corners of America's heartland. The forensic team, determined to untangle the tangled threads of the evidence, pieced together an unsettling narrative. Clues suggested that Sierra had been strangled, her final moments shrouded in the downpour that had rendered the night all too sinister. It wasn't just the physical marks that frightened the experts. It was the peculiar detail that the water clinging to her hair was unmistakably rainwater, not poured from a tap nor born of a struggle at home. At a time when weather reports confirmed a mysterious, localized storm had lashed a section of the region, the investigators began a painstaking search for the precise locale of that torrential deluge. In a twist that deepened the mystery, they discovered that this very patch of rain-soaked earth was in the vicinity of a secluded cabin, one belonging to Caleb Parker, the man who, though not her biological parent, had been a constant presence in Sierra's tumultuous life. As whispers of connection traveled quickly through the corridors of local law enforcement and crime analysts alike, the stage was being set for a case that would confound even the most seasoned detectives. At first glance, the evidence pointed to intricate rituals of clandestine meetings and whispered secrets between those who were meant to protect her and those who sought only to possess her history. But as the early hours of the investigation unfolded, it became clear that every splash of rain, every trace of force, and every concealment hinting at a hasty relocation by car had been orchestrated with unnerving precision. In that charged atmosphere of relentless investigation and growing dread, every detail was a clue, and every clue, in turn, a doorway to another possibility. In the shadows of a town where secrets clung to every brick and whispered through the alleyways, the investigation took an unexpected turn. As detectives meticulously retraced Sierra Jackson's final steps, they uncovered a chilling twist, connections that pointed not merely to a lone act of despair, but to a tangled web of love, deceit, and dark intent. Among the persons of interest was Logan Mitchell, a suave yet enigmatic figure who had been linked to Sierra both as a lover and, according to some, even as a husband by another twist of fate. His name was spoken in hushed tones, a man whose charm masked a turbulent past, and whose blood, found inexplicably mingled on Sierra's clothes, painted a portrait of passion turned deadly. Logan's involvement, once peripheral, suddenly took center stage. Every fragment of evidence hinted at a covert affair, a secret rendezvous under the veil of incessant rain, which seemed to both conceal and reveal truths in equal measure. Investigators combed through witness statements and sporadic text messages, each piece a small shard of a larger puzzle. Meanwhile, forensic experts confirmed that the water intermingled with Sierra's hair was not drawn from any home fixture, but was pure, untainted rain, a chilling reminder of the storm that raged beyond her control. The locale of that relentless rain, a precise pocket where nature had unleashed its fury, was a detail that had now morphed into a significant marker on the map. It was a place where nature's raw power had converged with human treachery, and its pinpointed coordinates led investigators straight to a rustic cabin on the outskirts of town. A cabin that belonged to none other than Caleb Parker, Sierra's stepfather. The discovery of Caleb's secluded cottage sent tremors through the investigation. Rumors swirled that the man, a shadowy figure living on the fringes of suburban normalcy, might have once harbored ambitions or secrets too volatile to remain hidden. Could Caleb have used his remote retreat as a staging ground for the unimaginable? Each theory, each whispered conjecture, wove a narrative that was as enthralling as it was horrifying. The detectives noted a pattern, a series of calculated moves that suggested the body had been deliberately transported from the site of the initial murder. The precise wrapping of the body, the methodical disposal in the heart of a public park, all pointed to a level of planning that was both meticulous and premeditated. It was as if a master puppeteer was carefully pulling strings in a danse macabre meant to deflect suspicion. As the pieces of the jigsaw began to align, the paths of Logan Mitchell and Caleb Parker intersected in ways too uncanny to dismiss. Each man, with his unique scars of past transgressions, seemed to orbit the same dark heart of the mystery. In the dimly lit back rooms of justice, where truth often hides behind fortified walls of red tape, the investigation was peeling back layers that were as painful as they were revelatory. Questions multiplied as rapidly as the storm clouds overhead. How had the conspiracies of love, betrayal, and paternal complexities converged to create such a tragic end? And most pressingly, who had orchestrated the silent symphony of death that claimed Sierra Jackson so brutally? In the aftermath of the mounting evidence, the investigation spiraled into a labyrinth of contradictions and revelations that challenged everything the local authorities once believed to be true. Detectives, haunted by the incessant patter of rain and the specter of a cleverly manipulated crime scene, revisited every detail with renewed determination. A meticulous re-examination of the forensic reports left no room for accidental missteps. Each strand of evidence was methodically cataloged, each smudge of rainwater recorded as part of an elaborate mosaic pointing to a sinister design. The careful choreography behind Sierra Jackson's demise evoked images of a masterful director manipulating every scene, every participant, until the lines between victim and perpetrator blurred irretrievably. In the smoky haze of interrogation rooms and the sterile corridors of the police station, the detectives started piecing together the mosaic. Whispered testimonies about clandestine meetings, uneasy alliances, and suspiciously timed absences began to paint a picture of a crime that was as calculated as it was tragic. As the investigation dug deeper, the profiles of Logan Mitchell and Caleb Parker became increasingly entwined. Logan's suave exterior began to crumble under the weight of inconsistencies in his alibi, a vulnerability that seemed to hide as many secrets as it revealed. Caleb, once perceived as a distant, reclusive figure, emerged as a man with lurking resentments and an enigmatic past that spanned decades of personal tragedies and unresolved vendettas. Eyewitnesses recounted coincidental sightings near the secluded cabin on fog-laden nights, a place that had inexplicably become a nexus of whispered rumors and troubled recollections among locals. It was here, amidst creaking floorboards and secrets cloaked in darkness, that connections between the victims and their potential killers resonated ominously. The investigative team, now faced with a tangled web of loyalties and betrayals, began to surmise that Sierra's fate was not merely the result of a random act of violence, but an orchestrated performance that implicated multiple players who had secret scores to settle. Every piece of evidence, every smudge of rainwater, every forensic anomaly, every cryptic revelation in recorded conversations served as a harbinger of further mystery. The detectives pieced together a timeline that defied conventional logic, suggesting that a calculated sequence of events had been set in motion long before that fateful night. It was as if someone had meticulously planned not only where and how Sierra was taken, but also the very manner of her staged abandonment in the park. The precision with which the crime was executed hinted at a mind that had planned far ahead, masking motivations that ranged from unbridled passion and clandestine affairs to long-held grudges and a thirst for retribution. As the case continued to divulge its secrets, the layers upon layers of deception became ever more intricate. Questions that had once seemed simple now teetered on the edge of extraordinary complexity. Were Logan's apparent mistakes merely errors in judgment, or did they mask a deeper, more calculated maneuver? And was Caleb's remote cabin truly a passive backdrop, or had it played an active role as a staging ground for a murder that defied standard explanations? Each revelation stirred more questions than answers, inviting onlookers and investigators alike to challenge every assumption they had held until that moment. Could it be that the true mastermind had always lurked in the shadows, expertly weaving together disparate threads into a tapestry of death and despair? As the rain slowly subsided and dawn broke over the troubled town, the unresolved mysteries lingered like a specter waiting to be exorcised. The intricacies of Sierra Jackson's final moments, the connections among those entwined in the tragedy, and the silent implications hidden in every detail left an indelible mark on the minds of those who pursued the truth. And now, as the case teeters on the precipice of a solution that remains just out of reach, one is left to ponder. What dark truth lies beneath the surface of appearances, and who among those we trust might be the puppeteer pulling the strings in this deadly drama? If you've been captivated by this intricate mystery and crave more twists and revelations, make sure to like, subscribe, and join the conversation as we delve deeper into the shadowy corners of this relentless investigation.